G'day, it's Mickey here. I've got some new tyres on my bike. It's been quite a while. I've done over 18,000 Ks on the last set, and they were the Dunlops that came with the bike, Sports Max. So look, they went okay, but to be honest, after about 15,000 Ks, they started to really wear, particularly start to flatten off in the middle, given I travel into the city every day, and they started to become a little bit touchy. Coming around corners, they tend to slide a bit. So I've had to go out, and what I've ended up with is a set of Michelins. These are the Road Pilot 2s, not 3s, not 4s, the Road Pilot 2s. And there's a little bit of a story behind that. So, what I can tell you about these tyres is that they're absolutely a lot better than what it was at. Basically, these stick to the road and are great all-weather tyres. So they're good for the dry, they're good for the wet, and they're still pretty sporty, but they're a dual compound tyre, so they actually allow better traction on the sides whilst being a hard compound for commuting in the middle. So for somebody like me, that suits me down to the ground. So look, I'll tell you a little bit about what happened with my tyres. I was supposed to be getting Michelin Road Pilot 4s. I'd worked out a good price with my mechanic, but unfortunately that ended up with none in stock. I had a rear but not a front. So given I'd left it so long before I'd actually ended up having it replaced, I really needed to get it replaced fairly soon. So basically they replaced it with the Pilot Road 2s. They didn't contact me about that. I could have got them elsewhere. I could have got them fitted for a similar or better price for Road Pilot 4s, but that's not the way it turned out. So thanks A1, I've got a couple of generations behind, but look, for everything that I've heard, it's still a pretty decent tyre. And I went out for a ride yesterday, and these tyres seem pretty okay. So I'm happy enough with them. I could have forced the issue, but I was dealing with another issue with them, and to be frank, I just couldn't be fucked. So yesterday I went out on a fair ride, about 250 Ks, so a nice little short one for a day ride with a bunch of guys that I ride with, and it was bloody freezing. So it was 1 degree when I left home, 1 or 2 degrees. It was ice on the roads, there was mud on the roads, there was the bark off trees, slimy, everything that's very treacherous. Surprisingly enough, the tyres held up particularly well. So what I found was that they were sticking to the road wonderfully. No need for me to worry about coming in too quickly into some of the corners, and some of the stuff on the road Although it can be disconcerting and you tend to slow down a bit for it anyway. There was no slippage whatsoever. And if I'd stayed on the old worn out Dunlops, I can tell you now, that would have been a real issue. So one of the other things I found just recently with this bike, and I said there was other issues I was dealing with, is that the front rotors, or the front discs for my brakes, have been feeling a bit weird lately. So you may have noticed that in some instances I come to a bit of a stop, but instead of coming to a straight stop, it sort of jumps up and down. And sometimes even when I'm travelling at higher speed, I'm tending to find that it's getting a bit of a shudder or a vibration. Now that's, I found out, being caused by a warped or two warped discs. Now this is on a bike that's less than 12 months old. So I was a bit miffed that a Honda has actually had this happen. Now you might hear this happen sometimes when people that ride really hard, they're flying into corners at intense speeds, or they're ending up on the track where they're having to brake from 250 k's an hour down to 100 and knocking off a hell of a lot of speed. They may be running, you know, special racing discs that heat up, racing pads that heat up faster, and of course that's going to end up putting a lot more heat into the disc. It's strange because I don't do any of that. I'm a pretty sedate rider. I certainly don't do any hard braking. I've never taken this bike onto the track. So what the hell? How come I've ended up with such shitty rotors? Now, I've read in some forums that this is just something that tends to happen with some of Honda's rotors. So I took it to the mechanic and I said, look, this is the guys I bought the bike from, A1 in Ringwood. And I said, guys, look, our bike's only a year old. Surely something like this isn't right. It's got to be replaced under warranty. You know what they said? They said, no, mate, rotors or discs are considered consumables. So just like your pads, just like your fluids, it's a consumable and it's not covered under warranty. What? How fucking ridiculous. So I said, look, that's just not good enough. And they've taken it to Honda Australia, and Honda Australia have turned around and said, no, won't cover it under warranty. So I kicked up a bit of a stink, and particularly after the tyre situation I wasn't very happy. And the guys took it to Honda Australia and said, look, let's replace it out of a goodwill gesture. Nah, not going to do it. Fuck off. So after having the bike for less than 12 months, I've now ended up with rotors that are warped, discs that are warped, and I'm going to have to shell out close to $400 to replace them. So by all accounts, there are no aftermarket discs available either. So I have to go genuine Honda. I can tell you, I'm not happy, Jan. The safety is probably the most important aspect. Thankfully at higher speeds, the vibration's not quite as bad. What that vibration had actually done is that it caused the steering head to loosen. So not only was the disc issue causing a vibration or a lumpy feeling through the brakes and the front end, that was then translating into vibrations that were causing the loosening of the steering head. Thankfully that's been picked up and tightened, so that's made a difference. Still doesn't resolve the issue, but it's better than it was. So for me, I need to just take it easy, make sure that I'm ending up using a lot more rear brake of late than front brake, so that I don't end up having as big a vibration, or alternatively braking just a bit harder when I'm at higher speed. It actually tends to vibrate less when I do that. So there you have it. Very disappointed with A1 around the tyre situation. Very disappointed when it comes to Honda Australia's response. But again, 350, 400 bucks for me is a fair bit of money. For a bike dealership, not so much. And you know, if I was in their shoes, I'd probably comp most of that. But it doesn't look like they're really interested, which is a real shame. So for all you guys considering using A1 out in Ringwood, I'd honestly forget about it as far as it goes with what they've got for their service department. It's absolutely crap, and I'd be taking my bike to somewhere else from now on. Anyway, with this sun, it's ended up a beautiful winter's morning. It is still cold, but I'm rugged up, and that's keeping me warm enough. So I hope the weather's nice wherever you are. Stay safe.